record on this. Okay, and y'all know what to do. We had the preliminary meeting, right? So we're aware we're going to be talking for a full hour. What I'm going to do is start my alarm. I'm going to set an alarm for an hour now. And then when my alarm goes off, I'll pop up on the screen. So you will see my face, Cheryse. But I'll do something to look cuter between now and the hour time.
Okay. Don't wait, give me 1 second. Let me
okay.
to and that's it before we get started.
Go put some pants on, Cheryse.
Okay, all right.
I know that's what she's gonna go do, Larry. How are you? You having a good morning?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. You know, I was in Philly yesterday for Henry Taylor's opening at the Fabric Workshop.
Oh,
so it's
amazing.
nice to, spend some time with Henry, see the show. The show's pretty interesting. And then working on my show that I'm installing next week in Manila.
Oh, what a big deal.
Yeah, so just trying to get everything in order before I fly out on Tuesday.
You're so busy all the time.
Yeah.
Thanks for making time to be here for this. Hey, are you going to be able
of course.
to come to our opening, do you think? Our reception? It's July 15th. I'm going to send it to you.
Yes, send it. I'll be in Seattle that week, so it just depends.
No problem.
How that goes, because I'm opening a Marco Boafo on the 13th.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll just drop this on your...
Yeah, just send it to me and just send me like a calendar invite, and then like as I'm figuring things out, I'll definitely do my best.
Okay, awesome. Cheryse, where are you? Perfect
right here.
timing.
Yeah.
All right, my friends. So I'm gonna leave you for an hour. And yeah, if you have tension or anxiety about our conversation, release it. It's already successful. I'm happy that there's this bridge that's built between the two of you, and I can't wait to see and listen back later on the conversation. Okay, cheers.
All right,
Cheers.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Cheryse. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
You dressed up. I feel so underdressed.
Listen, I got this on the top. I can't even tell you what's on the bottom, honey. So it's okay. It's okay.
So how's everything going? I guess for folks who may not be familiar, you're in Charlotte, correct?
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
And then you grow up in Charlotte. Like, how'd you get there? Like, just a little backstory.
Okay. Yes, I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, west side of Charlotte, North Carolina. That's a specific thing. Okay. And so
Wait, why is this specific?
Oh, honey, we are the indigenous Black people of Charlotte. Like everybody originated from West Charlotte. Okay. It was like one of the first places where Black people can purchase land. All our founding churches are pretty much on Beatties Ford Road. And that's just what it was, our Black Harlem.
Got it.
So the west side is like heavy, like Black history over there. So that's where I'm from. And so
there's go ahead.
No,
I was gonna ask you, growing up over there and having that knowledge and history of your background, did that inform like how you began to kind of think about art and its role in your life and archive and stuff like that?
No, actually not. I can't honestly say that was like in the forefront of like my upbringing. Like that's something that I really that was something that I kind of learned as I got older. Growing up, it was pretty much day to day. And public school system, we didn't get any Black local history. It was pretty much about Walter Riley and not Black history. So no, it actually didn't inform any of my art practices, but it developed a curiosity in me because as I got older, I realized, wow, there's a lot that I don't know.
So what was the first thing that like made you go like, oh, okay, there's something here, like there's something deeper, let me research it. Let me understand it and see what are they not teaching us? What are they not telling us?
Well, it's a funeral home here called Greer Funeral Home, which is the Black funeral home that majority of the Black people use. near where I grew up over the track. And so I think I came across the article one time about A. Greer, which is the founder, him, and I correlated on Monroe Road, it's a place called Greer Town. So I didn't know the two had anything to do with each other. And I started digging into history to find out that that was like one of the first land that Black people bought. Mr. Greer developed Greer Town for Black people, and his legacy still lives through his grandsons through the funeral homes. So it was like, honestly, funeral home that led me to be like, wow, there's some deep roots in Charlotte. It's some deep Black roots in Charlotte.
And so in terms of collecting, I guess, what encapsulates like the collection that you've been able to build over the last couple of years? And what was the first piece where you were like, oh, okay, I'm building legacy. I'm a steward of something important that I eventually want to be seen by the public in the format of an exhibition or a book or at your establishment?
I would say I have been trying to find the words to describe like my collection. I can honestly say I collect what I like, and it's literally everything from the Black experience that I just take a liking to. I collected a Dick Gregory October 1971 Ebony magazine. I found it at like a vintage market that we had here in Charlotte. It was a majority of white vendors, and I actually bought it from a white vendor. And I took it home and I started looking at the clothes, the advertisement, the stuff that people were wearing, the articles. And my mom passed when I was 24. Like I say in most of my interviews, that I really didn't ask her the right questions to know what her upbringing was like in Black culture. And so 71, she would have been 21 years old. At that time, she started 1950. So to kind of see, wow, I'm looking through the eyes of something my mother probably looked at in the article she read and the things she was influenced by. And so that led to curiosity to me start collecting Black ephemera. So majority of my collection is magazines, Ebony magazines, Jet magazines. I have Black World. I have Black Stars, a lot of Johnson publication. And so it just really inspired me seeing the work that was done, the photography. It's just absolutely beautiful. So it literally just started as it's just an obsession. And then of course you see 1971. So you want to know, okay, what it looked like in the 50s and the 60s, and the skin was always lighter. And why is that? And then boom, the 70s, the Afro's on the cover. So seeing how we progressed in culture over the years through by way of publication.
So what is that process like? Because I've met folks who collect, publications, they collect all types of different objects. Like, how do you assess that, okay, this magazine is worth bringing it to the collection? Bless you. Let me ask that question again. Bless you. You good?
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, so how do you assess? Because like, like my thing outside of art is like watches, and I like always am trying to like learn about vintage watches, right? But it's like, how do you know outside of like, I mean, you named like some of the like the big hitters, but like if there was a smaller kind of like niche Black publication that may have just published out of Memphis, Tennessee, like how do you know that what's worth bringing into the collection and that it can add value to the story you're trying to tell by collecting this ephemera?
That's a hard thing. I think because vintage Black publication is so hard to get your hands on anyway, I just collect it all. Like if I see it and I can afford it, then I'll get it. And it don't have any like value over the other. I mean, of course, monetarily, some things are rarer than others, but I'm interested in the niche articles and magazines and the one-time publishing. I can't think about. It's one magazine that Soul Team. It's one called Soul Team, and I read it from cover to cover, and it was like had a Pinto that you can buy, and everybody's excited, not buy, that you can win. So everybody's writing in a Pinto. Like, so, you know, stuff like that is very interesting. They had like little love stories where girls was like 15 talking about getting married, and, you know, their boyfriend was in the army. So those are really some of the rawest conversations, is the smaller publications, because a lot of the big ones focus on politics and, like, you know, like pop culture. But some of the smaller one was like real everyday Black issues. So honestly, I just collect it all, and I like to deep dive into the lesser known ones.
And then for folks who are interested in potentially collecting, whether it's art, whether it's ephemera, whether it's, you know, jewelry, I guess what would be some steps and strategies that they should be thinking about? Because, like, you know, I have friends who now, you know, they got some disposable income, they bought a new house or whatever the case may be, and they're like, all right, now I need some art. And I'm just like, okay. You know, and it seems like people are always asking for like answers in terms of like how to do it. And at the end of the day, like, my hope is that the collection is reflective of like your interests and personality. But I'd be curious, like, I'm sure you have friends who've seen you build this collection and they're like curious and they're like, why are you collecting Jet magazines? And then you obviously explain it to them. Or they're like, oh, I want to collect, you know, vintage Black cookbooks. Like, what's some foundational work that people should be thinking about, you know, if they want to build, you know, any kind of collection?
I think authenticity, what feels good to you. I don't collect based off monetary value of the things. I like ephemera, Black ephemera. So I just collect what I like. I think it's a process to finding your own interests and desires. That's through hobbies, through just kind of doing a whole bunch of stuff to see what grasps you. But vintage has always just been a part of me. I mean, I've thrifted for as long as I can remember. It was a practice that me and my mom did, but because of our finances growing up, to be honest with you. Like, all my back to school shopping was at the thrift store at Value Village on Freedom Drive. And like, I didn't, Kohl's and Marshalls, I didn't get into that stuff until I started working. And at the time I hated it, because I'm like, oh my God. And she always told me, what's new to you? Because I don't want to wear these people clothes. And she said, what's new to you? Which is true. So we'll go home, we'll wash it up and earn it up. So it was part of our practice because of like our financial situation. But when she passed, I realized, wow, it was so like in me that I just kept the practice going. And so over the years, it has changed from like vintage clothes. I was still in it. Like, my watch is vintage. I got a 71 watch. So everything that I like is vintage. My house is mid-century modern. And my dream car is a Tri-5 Bel Air, 55, 56, 57 Bel Air. Like, I want a Bel Air so bad I can just taste it. So like every part of my life, because I've been surrounded around this stuff so much, it's in me. It's a natural desire. But I just feel like everyone has something that grasps them. It's just like spending that time with yourself to find out like what pulls at you.
And then you also are an entrepreneur, correct?
I am.
Can you talk to us a little bit? Can you talk a little bit about the business?
Yes.
And how that kind of factors into like the collecting and the storytelling?
Yes. So Archive is the name of my coffee shop and book and ephemera shop. I'm a creative first and a collector first. I just like things and creating things, and used to make little postcards with Spice Girls on it and Trick Daddy, just all type of stuff that has something to do with like pop culture. And when I grew up, like just nostalgic little things. And then I made clothes, and I used to buy like vintage McCall's patterns, and used to make vintage dresses based off the old patterns. Like, I always like to shift dresses and stuff like that. So I did that for a while. Had a little vintage when I was 19. I had a little, no, I was 21 because I was 2012. I had like vintage clothes, little factory, that I made online. So that I think over the years, those were hobbies that I love. And then boom, Archive came. And I never like thought about brick and mortar. I never thought about coffee at all. And I inquired about a space one time on the west side. And It was affordable. So I was like, what can I put here? I was already selling like vintage magazines online, and it was doing good, and posters and stuff like that. So I was like, I wonder if I could, it's a niche for it in Charlotte. You know, we have an HBCU here. It's a lot of Black professionals moving to Charlotte. This would be cool to like have this offering. And so I thought about getting a space, figured out, you know, how much it would cost to do everything, didn't have the capital, crowdfunded to get it. And because over the years I've like built such a community online of people who that really knows that I'm really interested in this and have a desire in this, I was able to raise $40K in 40 days to open Archive. And then the coffee part kind of came on because my broker was like, okay, books and magazines really won't get people here every day. But I kind of dream kill at first, but the suggestion was add coffee and like pastries and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not familiar with food and beverage, but then I engaged the culinary people Black people in Charlotte, and they got me right. Like, you know, they were able to train me on certain stuff. I gave them opportunities. So it's like a mutual thing. And so the food and beverage part was built by them, which of course I run or whatever, but, and I was able to, you know, have my interest in there. So.
And how's it been going so far?
It's been going extremely well. Like,
because you did a renovation, no?
Yeah, did a slight renovation. Was on a Today Show last Friday. The lady said she found me on yeah, like I didn't even know. I thought the Today Show was local. I thought it was like some here in Charlotte. So I wasn't don't look like that, Larry. I wasn't too familiar with it. So when the lady called, I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, this kind of like a big deal. She's like, yeah, I've never been in North Carolina. This is New York. Like, we coming from New York. I'm like, oh my God. She said she found me on the 10th page of Google. So I was like, oh God. So she came here. So it's well received by the community. Okay. We don't really have a third space in Charlotte where we could come just be ourselves, the vibes, the music right. You come have meetings. We're the majority there. And so the community love it. The elders love it. They're well respected there. That's a requirement. And it just pays homage to their upbringing. So they love it so much. So yeah.
And then can we step back a little bit? I mean, you've talked about it a little bit, but can we go deeper on the importance of the archive? Because normally when we think about, at least when I think about archive, I'm thinking about research. You're thinking about universities. You're thinking about PhD students, you know, clearly aligned with education, but it's like you have to go to, you know, a library, like, you know, a particular place in order to access this information. And you've grown up with the archive as it's kind of in your DNA. Can you talk a little bit about, at least from your perspective, just the importance of the archive, one as an active exercise? I think also people think archive is like past, but it's like it's something that's actually constantly being built. So talking about the archive as active, why it's important for us to be cognizant of, you know, if there's something that's like, I think about like when Obama became president and like I bought every newspaper imaginable and just put it in a plastic bag. I'm like, one day
it's gonna be
I'm gonna show this to like my niece, my kids, got one, if I'm blessed to have some, and just be like, hey, this was a Black president. So yeah, just I guess the importance of it, because I think people think it's just something that like old people do, when it's like, you know, because part of why I'm asking is that I think if we adopted an archival mindset, it'll inform how you consume, right? So like you're gonna buy things that have staying power, things that you can pass down, buy more Black, you know, own or Black created products, right? As opposed to kind of like the fast retail if it's closed, for example. So I guess like, why is the archive mindset important? And also like, what has it done for you just kind of personally? Obviously you've talked a little bit about it professionally.
It's important. I think growing up, born in '89, and my parents already 39 and 50 something years old, and my dad was born in 1936. You know, I was
Oh,
adopted.
wow.
I was adopted, and I was raised by older people, like as day-to-day parents, and like seeing their practice of having things from their parents and the oral history that they have that was informing their current living, the way they saved, and just the fellowship of it all, even down to hymns and just stuff that we all know. I think the archival mindset has been ingrained in us. Think about, that's the only way we kept our vital records was through the Bible. The death, the birth, and death was recorded through the Bible when they didn't acknowledge our records. So we had a need for it then, just to just record the fact that we existed and we're here. And so I think the same thing is true today. I have 3 girls, and you know, I was a teen mom, so my daughter Kaylee, I have a lot of pictures of her because she was born in 2005. That was before apps, really before cell phones and iCloud and all that type of stuff. So we had a lot of disposable cameras. I captured a lot, took her to go get pictures. It was like places to get your picture taken all the time, like, you know, little packets and stuff. Okay, then Taylor was born in 2009. That's when we first started getting camera phone, but it was no cloud really, or that wasn't like prevalent in my life. So I have really no pictures of her as a baby, and she's 13, because of how we went from taking pictures on a camera because we had to thinking like, oh, well, we have technology now. I can just take a picture, but not knowing where to store that. And then, you know, Bailey in 2014, I could upload it to Facebook. And so now it's there forever. So like, I feel like it's going to be another wave of that, because although we have cloud, and I tell people all the time, is that if you take all pictures, like me, right now, I probably send 500 pictures a year to be printed, and I have photo albums and I digitize them and all this type of stuff. But if you're a person that all of your memories, the majority of your memories live in your phone, God forbid something happened to you, nobody have the passcode. That's it. Like, that's it of all your personal moments that you want to share with your family. That's not online. That's just gone. You're gone like that. If no one has access to your cloud, because I've recently learned, if you don't have like a beneficiary to your account, to your like iCloud, I had a friend, her husband passed. She can't get into his phone cloud, nothing. Apple don't care about who you are. They are not letting you into anybody cloud once you die, if they die, no matter how close you are. So just think about like all the pictures he's taken from his perspective of their family is gone. So I think we need to adapt that mindset, simply because we're going to go through another surge of our history being erased. To take it a little further, my family house burnt down like shortly after my mom passed. So I don't have but 5 pictures of me under the age of 12. So that's what make me so obsessed about collecting and like making sure it's this place and that place, you know, so my daughters can have, you know, their history, because I'm gonna be like in the 1800s when they get older, like, look at these 5 pictures of mama. And I grew up in the 90s. So we have to, because our stories, our experience is going to be true to the next generation in the next generation. But if there's no place for them to look at it, we're looking at like what was recorded for slavery, what was recorded early on, and then it's going to be like kind of a dark age for us, because we're slave to technology, and like, but in the wrong way. Like, it's okay to capture stuff here and to capture the stories here, and even social media, but who has control over it once we're gone? So it's not an old thing. And we know it's not an old thing because we take pictures for memories. But it's like it needs to live past us. So that's
And so besides archive, vintage, do you collect like art, paintings, drawings?
Now, Larry, I don't have that type of money yet, but I'm looking to. Like, I love art. I don't, you know, I love art. Like, I'm a museum rat. So I have like little prints and stuff that I like. But yeah, I hope to be like you one day. And that leads me to ask you, so what was your inspiration for like creating ARTNOIR? And, you know, what did you feel like you wanted to give to add to Black culture by doing so?
So to your other point, you don't got to be rich to collect. You already know that for vintage.
Art,
You just need
art, the type of art I like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Give me a Jacob Lawrence right now.
it's possible. I mean, one thing that like, and I mean, this is a part of the pod. Like, we did something for Sotheby's last week,
Okay.
where we were just talking about the fact that like the auction houses have not done a great job of like building relationships with Black collectors,
Okay. Excuse
right?
me.
Because bless you, because what people don't realize, just like you got auction to buy a house that's foreclosed, or auction to buy a vintage car, or like an auction to buy like some Gucci frames from 1950. There are actually a lot of small auctions in the South in particular where you can buy art objects. You just got to know what you're looking for. It may not be a Jacob Lawrence because he's known, but like, because a lot of times it's like, or estate sales.
Estate
Like
sale.
people will be doing estate sale. That person don't care.
They trying to
If it's
liquidate.
Exactly. And so like, I've
Okay.
discovered this estate sale, like, my partner, she found like a $5,000 designer chandelier for $500. Mint condition.
Oh.
So like, you could go to an estate sale and maybe the person was friends with Jacob Lawrence, and let's say the person who's selling the stuff is, not culturally aware, and they're like, oh, okay, we're selling this thing for like X. And like, oh, that's a Jacob Lawrence.
Yeah.
You verify, even if it's a print or a drawing or a lithograph. I think there are a variety of strategies to get access to art.
What was your first piece?
My first piece I bought was a friend of mine, Helen Toomer, used to have a art gallery in Chinatown, and it's by this artist Letha Wilson, who now shows with Metro Pictures. And it was just a photograph, but it was a photograph that she had like she cut a circle into it and kind of tried to push it to like feel like sculpture. And it was just like a photograph of a landscape, and it was small. But I just liked it because I used to make pictures. I used to do photography at the beginning of my journey in art, and then realized that I wasn't interested in doing that. And then shifted to writing about art and then curating. And so, part of why, Art Noir got started was organic. It was just basically a bunch of friends going to see shows. Like like last night I was in Philly for Henry Taylor's opening at the Fabric Workshop. And normally I would just send an email and just say, hey, I'm going to Philly. Who want to come? And some people would just pull up.
Yeah.
And the more that we did that, the more I realized that there actually needed to be a structure. And so and there was a crew of us, and then eventually we made the decision, okay, this needs to be like a formal thing, because Art Noir probably starts with like maybe 16 people. And then like 7 of us kind of committed to building it into an organization. And so the goal, one is putting artists first and providing them support. And support has a lot of different faces. Support just our presence, so like we did a walkthrough with Derek Adams for a show at Flag Art Foundation a couple weeks ago, and we probably had like 80 people there. And that's probably the most outside of an opening they probably that gallery's probably seen of us being in the space. And Derek was so gracious to kind of go through every piece, break it down, And so for us, it's like creating a safe space, not only for the artists to kind of share, but for the creatively curious next generation of patrons, to feel like they have access to this conversation, because so much of how the art world is thrived is like being opaque, and not being transparent, or not creating a situation where we felt invited, right? And so for us, it was like, all right, because I'm doing this concurrently with building my career as a curator. And you know, you strive so much to get a seat at the table, and then I got a seat at the table. I'm like, this table's kind of boring. It ain't popping. The
Okay.
food is bland.
Uh-huh.
You know, the margaritas don't got that sauce.
So you
And so I
sneak.
was like, okay, one more time.
I said, so you snuck your seasoning in.
Yeah, not even that. I just like, let's go build our own table.
Mm.
And then invite them to the party.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, I was listening to a podcast that one of my mentors did, Troy Carter, and they were talking about you know, people working so hard to get to the table, and they get to the table, but they act like they're at the kids' table.
Mm.
Right. And so like the kids' table, you know, it's just like this kind of side thing, you know, or and sometimes they make you feel like you should be happy to be here, you know, and so some folks, you know, don't want to rock the boat. Right. And so for me, it's like, you know, well, F that, we just create our own table. Because at the end of the day, we the vibe and we know that.
I
Right.
share.
And so we've, you know, and we've been able to like, you know, over the last 10 years, just get the support of so many incredible artists, you know, master artists, artists who are like superstars down to emerging artists. And then, you know, when COVID kind of hit, we saw a lot of artists who were just struggling. We saw a lot of cultural producers struggling. And so we started our Jar of Love micro grant program. And I think we gave away like, I want to say we gave away like 80 grand, something like that. And micro grants, you know, so I was between 500 and $3,000, you
But
know,
that
so
did
it could be the,
a lot for the artist, though. You're
oh
doing it.
yeah, no, but
Yeah.
artists and culture workers. So like, I was seeing museums laying friends off. I was just like, all right, you know, for me, it's like, okay, what we can we do within our superpower, right? 'Cause I think a lot of times when we are in moments of crisis, you know, people are stepping out of their kind of wheelhouse, you know, as opposed to like stepping back and be like, all right, what do I do well? And then how do I amplify that and go deeper?
Yes.
So for us, it was like, you know, we were super active on social media. We were doing our virtual visits. So you were able to like, you know, do a studio visit with Derek Adams from the comfort of your home and get an insight into his practice and be like, wow, I really like him. I'm going to follow him. Oh, he has a show coming up in this place. I'm going to go. Oh, they're selling prints, you know, limited edition. Let me get one. Oh, there's a poster. You know, so it's like,
Innovation.
yeah, and it starts this domino effect. And for me, it's just more about like getting the domino effect. Um, and then, you know, last year into this year, we launched our scholarship. And so then we awarded 8 $10,000 scholarships to BIPOC students getting their MFA at CUNY schools, you know. And so like, you know, they're the Columbians and the Yales of the world, but there's also Hunter College, Brooklyn College, CUNY, and these are all city schools where it costs about $10,000 to go to school for the year. So imagine like, you know, someone's offering you an opportunity to get some funds where you could just focus on making art.
Ooh,
You know what I'm saying?
that's a
And I think
blessing.
a lot of it is, you know, is where we come from. Like for me, growing up in the Bronx, like, you know, in college, I had 3 jobs. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I had scholarship money. It wasn't 100%. So I had to get 3 jobs to kind of fill the gap, buy books, pay my rent. So I know what it is to kind of like make ends meet on top of still being a student,
Yeah.
you know? And so for us, just particularly knowing that, you know, the art market's in a bit of a boom and a lot of that is focused on our communities. It's like, all right, how do we take that money and then redistribute it? Because we know money is energy, right? And so taking that energy from here and then putting it someplace else where someone can kind of really focus on their creative production and, you know, hopefully offer us something that's going to change the way we think about the world, the way we see, and these transformative experiences. So it's just basically trying to figure out this flywheel, you know, and constantly trying to reimagine it. And so, you know, it's been a fantastic journey, and it's just like now at 10, it's like thinking about the next 10, but also thinking about the next 100 years, right? And how do we put something in place where, you know, eventually us as founders can just step back as like advisors, and then we now have like a team that's, you know, taking over, and then they're running the show,
That's why I
right?
was gonna ask you, would you be interested in, because it just sounds so organized, and it sounds like me as somebody. I came to Jessica about 2 years ago because I wanted a museum job. Like I told you, I'm interested in art. I'm a museum rat, but I'm a person that has a high school education. I was a teen mom 2 times over. So I was thinking about surviving. Like you said,
Yeah.
about stuff, I was worried about bread and like eating day to day. And so I just had an interest in it, but interest is not enough for these institutions. You look, they want a fine art degree, this. So I went to be a docent, just like, okay, well, I can get, it just was, like you said, it's just stale, and they just make you feel like you just better be happy to be a tour guide, you know? And I
Yeah,
was like, I want
yeah,
to do this and that. And so she was like, you are this because you are this. Like, you don't need that to validate this. You just need to do the work. And so here I am 2 years later, my stuff is being featured in the very museums that I wanted to get just maybe entry level job, you know? So I know people like me, I didn't have like a place where I could go learn about the art, go see the stuff. So now I'm interested in seeing, will you be interested in having chapters of that? Because I would love to like having like a East Coast chapter, even a North Carolina chapter.
yeah,
So many new people moving to Charlotte looking to connect with other Black people with the same interests. If we can just go to museums around here, do a day trip to Atlanta, man, with under the leadership the organization that you already have created, man, that'd be amazing.
yeah. That's something that we've been talking about, and just trying to figure out how do we do it in a way that's organic but kind of maintains the point of view, right? So like in LA, we did stuff with Kentura Davis. We walked their show at Oxy Art, and then Adrian, Elise Tarver had a show at Ochi Gallery. We did a talk with Genevieve Gannard. So it's something that we're thinking about. Even I was in London last weekend, and you know, we got some homies there that want to activate in London and Paris. So it's just, you know, just trying to think through what's the mechanism and the blueprint, so that, like, you know, we may, you know, do the first couple of events, you know, and there's a structure and an understanding, and then, like, you know, you could say, yeah, you could say, hey, okay, this show's coming to Charlotte. I think it would be dope to kind of rally some people, and then we kind of make it happen. So, which I think is something that we're figuring out, but a lot of it is also kind of trust, right?
Yeah.
You know, and making sure that it's at the level that
Integrity.
yeah. But I think it's interesting, like your point about validation, because I think there's always this desire to like try to qualify people.
Yeah.
Particularly, you know, our Caucasian cousins. And I learned a long time ago that, like, yeah, it's great to have a master's degree. Yeah, it's great to have a PhD. I mean, I got a master's degree, but like, you know, there's nothing that's gonna replace like curiosity and passion and doing the actual work. Because I know people with master's degrees that are baristas. Nothing against that. That's
Yeah.
skill.
Yeah, it is skill.
You know, but I don't think they got the master's degree with that intent.
Yeah.
Right. And there are a lot of variables that could factor into why someone is where they are.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I'm just saying to say that that's not like an equalizer.
Yes.
Right. Like, you know, one of my mentors, he was on the podcast yesterday, he got GED, but he's one of the most important, like, Black tech investors, Black music execs in the world. So like, I think if you're doing the work personally, because also the other thing that's important to point out, I'm self-taught as a curator. I didn't go to school for it. Like, Like it confuses people. They be like, "Oh, so did you study art history in college?" I'm like, "Nah, business management."
Mm.
Did you have a master's? I'm like, marketing and hospitality.
Mm.
And then I just see like their face. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, nah, I just put in this work. Like if you saw my dining table and all the books I got, I just was like, okay, this is something that fulfills me. I want to make it a way of life, right? It's not a job. The fact that like, you know, being able to go to Philly, my brother and family are there, spend time with them, and then go to Henry Taylor's opening. And Henry's a homie,
Cheryse
and for a lot, yeah, and for a lot of people, he's a hero, which I agree. I've been able to build like authentic relationships with a lot of artists over the last, more so 10 years, just because I showed up,
Mm.
just because I supported, and I supported without trying to get something out of it,
Yeah.
right?
And I feel like that's the piece that's missing. Building authentic relationships in any arena is the goal. But I
Yeah,
don't think people understand when you go into it. Okay, Henry Taylor, for example, he's a phenomenal artist. I just got his coffee table book, The Orange. It's amazing. I just was up all night, just oh my God, I need this. And so if you share a mutual interest with somebody, that's enough to develop a friendship or a relationship with nothing in mind, just share
yeah,
knowledge, just conversation.
yeah,
But I think now it's like it's always transactional. And that's
yeah,
that
and that,
hurt us as Black people in the art world.
yeah, and I think, which is a challenge, right? Because I think there's layers to it, right? Because there is creative expression. For some people, they believe they're tapping into the spirit and then manifesting those ideas through something,
Mm,
right? But
yeah.
the reality is that this is also a business,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Um, and I think we tend to kind of glaze over that. And there's also a device for wealth creation, right? And so I think part of the challenge and the opportunity is reconciling our relationship with the fact that the art market, is a business,
Mm.
and the art market creates an opportunity for Black and brown folks. If you have vision, you're supporting early, to acquire works that will enliven their lives, help tell their personal story, but then that also becomes an asset depending on who the artist is, right? So like something that simple is like you're like, oh, I want to get this Jacob Lawrence, but like I don't got the bread. I'm like, all right, well, what would it look like if you got three other homies together and say, you know what, we're gonna buy this together,
Mm.
and we're gonna draft up an agreement, right? Put some paperwork and say, okay, the four of us are gonna buy this Jacob Lawrence drawing. Let's say the drawing's $1,000. We each put in up 500, and then as a collective, we own the thing. And then you
Mm.
just have to make a decision on like, okay, does it live with Ms. Johnson for 6 months, then comes to you, right? Or is it on view at your establishment, right? Because that's the other thing is that now that you have a business, you can buy artwork through the business,
Mm.
and there are some tax breaks that you can take advantage of, because it's for I think decoration or something. Don't quote me. Talk to your
But it's just
accountant.
something to look into.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, because I got homies who like they're lawyers, they're
Okay.
doctors. They buy the artwork, they go to the office, it's up there. Like I got a friend, I think it's a psychiatrist, and all this stuff goes to his office. And so like there's like tax breaks and benefits that you can take advantage of where like let's say for example, you're able to buy, a Romeo Bearden like limited edition lithograph and you can write it off as a business expense,
Mm.
right? And now people who come to your establishment are able to enjoy these artworks. You're able to enjoy it, and then you're building a collection, right? And just like with vintage or archive, you might be like 5 years from now, like, damn, okay, I bought this for $1,000. This is worth $10,000. Hmm. Let me see if I can sell it take that 10,000 and then go buy 10 more joints.
And see, that's equity building upward mobility for our community through art and collecting.
Exactly. And so I think we still have to reconcile our relationship around that, because like creativity is such a sensitive thing with Black folks, right? Because we've just historically been taken advantage of. And I think, but the more that you're informed and understand that this is a device, right? Like, let's say you bought a painting by an artist and you spent $1,000 and now it's worth $100,000. And you're like, damn, you know, I want to build this addition to my house. You don't got to go to the bank. You can extract equity from that work that you own and then build that addition and then pay it off.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to going to the bank and refinancing or doing whatever people do, you know? And so, you know, that's the other part, and I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it. You know, I won't pretend like I know everything, but like I've seen people finesse the system, you know, or like, you know, you could buy work, have it for 10 years, 20 years. If you don't pass it down, you know, sell that work and it could pay for like your kids to go to college. You know, so for me, it's like in my head, you know, based on some of the works in my collection, I'm like, I'll never be broke. You know, because these things have value. Yes, I've built great relationships. A lot of artists I've supported, a lot of artists I've championed, and they've rewarded me with a piece. And they're like, you know, you bought into what I was doing before, like the lights was shining on me. So, you know, you hold that, you know, and if it becomes a situation where it's like, all right, you know, I'm like now trying to figure out, I want to buy a crib. And it's like, all right, where that money gonna come from? You know, looking around the house, it's like, okay, maybe I can, you know, extract some value from this painting, and that's a down payment. Right. And so, you know, I think the other thing is like, how do we gotta adopt an abundance mindset, right? Because I think we're conditioned to believe that you need to be rich in order to buy artwork, right? And I think for me, like I was texting with my homegirl yesterday because I have a pretty, you know, it's getting extensive like print collection. So like I've done collaborations with Art and Culture Project and Levine Art. So I have like Deborah Roberts, Derek Adams, Ferrari Shepherd, Jordan Castillo. And these are all print collaborations that we did. You know, and I've seen the value of prints go up. You know, like when I was in London, I went to see Peter Doig's show and they had a print for $2,000. I was like, and then I'm thinking, when am I ever going to have an opportunity to get like an original painting from this dude, which is probably like 6 figures. You know, so I think, and I got the poster, you know, because some of these posters end up going out of print. Like I saw a poster for Lynette Yadam Boacha, I think it was $150. You know, it's like someone had bought a bunch of inventory. The show was done. You know, Lynette's paintings are 6 figures. And like for some people, the poster's the only way to get it. And you at least know it comes from an exhibition. So it comes from something. So I just started just getting posters. I was like, all right, let me start getting my poster collection going. And, you know, maybe one of these will be worth something. So I think we got to like really adopt an abundance mindset, you know, when it comes to like supporting creative production. I think also like taking risk on emerging artists, you know, so like, is there an art school, you know, in Charlotte? And if there is, you know, what does the support look like for those students, right? And going to do studio visits, going to open studio, inviting them to like exhibit some of their work at your space. And getting in on the ground floor. I think that's when you get like the biggest return, to be honest.
And that's why I did the renovation, was for that purpose, for exhibition purpose, to have the wall space. This is the piece that I have in my house. And I was joking when I said I do collect art, but it is from emerging artists. So I have this piece in my house. And she's a local artist here. and J. Henry, and her work is amazing. And when they have the art fairs here, I do indulge in it, and I do collect and build, like you said, build the relationships, not necessarily for equity value, just because I know they need support and I'm a fan of their work. And so we always hope that one day we have us a piece, that we could, extract value from. But in the meantime, if we have, money to do so, then it is important that we sow seeds. We can't wait for the institutions to do it. We have to do it. And so
exactly.
And so with Archive and the wall space that I have, building something that they can rotate out every 3 months, because I have at least 1,000 customers a week. So that many eyes on the work be available for sale, but you can't receive your work until the end of the exhibition period, 3 months, and switching that out, that's an equal exchange, So like just finding every way, like you said, with ARTNOIR, is just using our own power to create our own table, to offer opportunities in a way that we can. And so, I've been blessed to have Archive and it be, and it grow the way it is. It's like, oh, wow. I seen like, oh, my bookshelf is nice, but wouldn't it be better to have this 30-foot wall exhibit works from people, with the Black eye, like the Black professionals coming through that have the money to spend on these artists. So always thinking of innovative ways to support artists.
Exactly.
And so
I think that
we have is the Time magazine. I have the Time magazine that he did. He illustrated Jesse Jackson, and that's just about as close as I got to it. But go ahead.
Yeah. And then you frame that up.
That's period. That's what I got going on. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
And I think it's also kind of expanding our mind around that. Like, that's just as important and just as intentional. Like Jacob was like, all right, I'm gonna make sure there is a record of the existence of Jesse Jackson, because I think, we kind of forget about what Jesse did, his contribution,
right.
Because he's not in the public picture as much anymore, right? So I guess so you've got the art, the space. What if you're thinking, because the next 18 months, because 5 years, as we know, COVID erase that kind of like type of thinking. In the next 18 months, like, what are you thinking about with relationship to archive building, with the relationship to collecting, to the business? What should collectors be thinking about, and working towards?
Just building a sustainable collection for ourselves to be able to tell a story. And whatever story you're trying to tell. So although I collect ephemera, I can't honestly say I've read it all. I have over 5,000 magazines. I haven't read all those, but I know them. I'm going to get around to them. I'm able to like flip through them, reference points, like, oh, I seen that this, and be able to grab information from it. The other night, John C. Smith, the local HBCU in my city, the hip hop class, that's a class in college. I like, I don't know much about college, but they had a class there. So the guy was able to come and teach the class. They was talking about the East Coast, West Coast beef, and they was able to use my XXL Source and Vibe magazines to get stories from.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So he brought his class to Archive, and they were able to have real ephemera from the Times. I got an MC jacket. And so I felt, especially as a person that got a high school education, I'm like, wait, my space is being used for academia? That's amazing. So yeah, because I thought I seen value in having those. So I think collectors and archivists should be definitely looking at like what can bring value to the people around you. In the meantime, while you're trying to, figure out the value of it, monetarily, how can it be engaged with now?
And are you go ahead?
I'm sorry. I was saying I have some jets beside me now.
Oh, wow.
Dick Gregory. Yeah, I literally just, Dick Gregory. And
so you just have them around the crib?
Yeah, they just be around the crib, Larry.
And how have you seen that like inform the upbringing of your children, in terms of like have they grasped what it is, or they kind of like mom's old things?
Only Archive, because they work there. that they get it. Like they've been around this stuff and they just like, oh God, and my daughter, my 18, she'll be 18 this month. She made a joke and was like, well, you're not even gonna be cold and all this stuff gonna be gone. Like that's what she said. She joked with me like that. But opening archive and her seeing the praise is received and just seeing how the community receive archive, she's now taking an interest to it. So she's now looking at the things and like kind of seeing the value in it because other people see it. And I don't even think it's for the sake of validation. But when you in your kid's house, you just think your mama like it because it's some weird stuff she like. You don't realize it's a real thing. And so the fact that it's a real thing and she has this type of access to it, she has an interest in it now. And so I'm grateful for that because I never wanted to like shove it down her throat. But she's into BAPE, those little hoodies and stuff. So I show her the vibe cover, Lil Wayne vibe cover with the purple back. I mean, I got that, the purple back. And so I'm like, this nothing new under the sun, honey. Like we've been doing this 05. Like, so to show her like the stuff that you see value in now is just archival pieces. Like you cannot escape archival pieces, music, the samples, like, and I'm like kind of teaching her know the origin of something. If this your favorite rapper, when you listen to interviews of your favorite rapper's favorite singer and they talk about what inspired them, go back and listen to the music and see if you can get something off what inspired them. Hear the samples. So when you hear the samples, what did the producer hear? Like what was in the song? Like you're building a curiosity around stuff that's just that she currently is interested in.
That's cool. And have you ever like come home and catch them like reading the Ebony magazine or looking through it?
No, but I heard them listen to Otis music and stuff before.
Oh wow.
And they brag about
like
it.
on their own.
Yeah, on their own.
Wow. And do they ever like be like, oh mom, this Otis Redding song slaps? Like
yes. Because my playlist at Archive is like, I'm real particular. Do not touch the music, honey. Because I curate the music. And so I wanted Archive to be sensory. Like, okay, you got it. Of course, it smells good in there. The site, all the images are like vintage images of us. The sound, like you're gonna go in there and get a nostalgia feel. So it's on repeat. So when I'm when it happened to come on the radio, or they hear it in the mall or something, and they recite it, and I look up and my daughter like, I'm like, oh, okay, you might know a little something, So yes, I'm hopefully that I am raising the next set of archivists that can really kind of take the torch home. I mean, with her going to college this year, my thing is, listen, go and do what you love, go have fun, but always keep in mind, I think even talk about archiving and collecting Black businesses. I think we push so much on our kids, lawyer, doctor, this, but we got to start thinking our businesses we created is enough for our kids to build on. Like go get more like other cultures, go get other skills that can help build this because she's already has an interest in it. She loves working there. So what can you go off and learn to bring back to it and grow it? So kind of put that in her that like I've already done some groundwork. You could really take it to home run because you with young, fresh eyes, you're going to be able to grasp something that I just didn't. So, that's how we build back our community through archival practice of information,
And so what's next for the space? You just did the renovation.
Did renovation, continuing to grow community, building a nonprofit piece to it, so that we can, have archivists come in, teach the importance of preservation, how to preserve your grandma, especially because I'm on Bakersfield Road, which is like I said, historically Black. We have elders in the neighborhood now that's losing their homes through gentrification, people moving out on their own, and this stuff is getting thrown away. I've had so many donations of people who, I was about to throw this away. So like getting the young people interested in it because they have grandmothers right now that's passing away and they family not seeing value in the things that should be collected. So just building that programming around it.
Dope. I see Jessica's back. Is our time up?
This is lovely. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Thank you so
in our
much.
conversation, talking about this was lovely.
I'm so sorry. I listen. I'm like listening and then fumbling around because I have to transcribe it later. So there are parts where like my ears kind of perk up a little bit. I'm like, listen a little harder. But I learned a little bit about both of you in this chat. It was really rewarding for me as well.
Yeah, thank you. No, we appreciate it.
Yeah, Larry, you got to hang out with Cheryse. You got to come to Archive.
For real.
Yeah.
And I'm coming to New York, Larry. You know what I'm saying? You got to tell me, take me around.
Oh yeah, let me know where you coming. I need your plug on some watches though.
I got you. Oh, especially here's a place called Something's Family Owned Business for more than 50 years. And they got, my friend just got a vintage Cartier. Yeah, they legit.
It's online or you gotta go there.
You can go to SUMPTERS, but that's not the stuff. The stuff is in the store. You gotta come down here. And it's affordable.
Okay.
And they do little payments.
Right. Well, I'll take that 10% finder's fee.
Black folk always want to. We can't, build a connection that you want to get paid for it. Good God Almighty, girl. Dang.
I'm just playing. All right. I love you guys. Take care.
All
Larry,
right.
send me the date. You got it on your calendar. You can come.
All right, cool.
On social media?
Yeah, it's under my name. Larry Ossei Mensah. You got it? Yeah, just send me a DM and then I'll follow you back. Also, Jessica,
yes,
you're on IG too?
I am. I follow you, Larry, but
send me a DM too.
Okay, I will.
And I'll make sure I follow both of y'all back.
Okay, thank you for taking the time, you guys. I'll talk to you soon.
No, my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Bye, y'all.
Take care. Have a great day. Bye.
You too.